land allocation to Ibrahim Mahama. And Accra missing couple, police arrest 2 suspects. Also, UCC Mont senior lecturer and teaching assistant killed in road crash. Very quite unfortunate. Media souls rest in peace. And also this one says the Supreme Court dismisses Wesley Girls' motion to strike out suit over religious directives. And also Akosomo substation firepower curtailment. Today's affected communities. Okay, so I think that's a future there. Also, this one says that child safety organization to prioritize prevention over treatment launched. And also World Book and Copyright Day commemorated. Now, prioritize value addition to share for economic growth. Vice President urges African countries. And also foundation equips youth with digital skills and entrepreneurship. Also power instability and weeds disrupt water supply in Eastern Accra. And GTech withdraws directive on post-retirement contracts. Also, amputees demand dignity and inclusion. Also, CASEC students protest against unapproved WASI fees. And MP sets up 100,000 Ghana City Scholarship Fund to support brilliant but needy students. And also, NADMO urged to prioritize prevention to reduce disasters. And Ghana's economic recovery restores confidence. And that is from the UNDP. Also, canoe fishers exempted from 2026 fishing close season. And also power to prosecute responsibility of Attorney General, and that is coming from a lawyer. And also new national headline, government begins search for a strategic investor. And so those are some of the stories making waves on that platform. Let's move on to other ones. Now here on the High Street Journal says that GESOL was created to fix agriculture's risk problem, but farmers say they have never felt its impact. And also, Ghana's banking sector turns its back on agriculture, and smallholder farmers are paying the price. Also, the Heath Goldfields Trafigura love affair, a financing deal that fell short and still undercut Ghana. Also, TUC doubles down on jobs and growth as Mayday theme challenges limits of macro stability. Also, this one says that TUC, okay, I already read this one. Africa drives oil demand as global consumption hits record in 2025. Also, IMF team lands for 6th review of Ghana's bailout. Minister hints of critical recovery decisions. And also NDPC to unveil consolidated national development framework by September. And BOG sets rules to accelerate rollout of non-interest banking in Ghana. And GPHA secures environmental approval and advances catapults investment drive. And also Ghana City crisis, the problem is not what you think. OPEC fund launches $1.5 billion Easter initiative to shield developing nations from global shocks. And also $1 per passenger, the Malta Guinness reality of airline profits that explains Ghana's high fares. And close fishing season to rebuild stocks and tighten sector regulation. And so those are some of the stories there as well. Let's move on to bnftonline.com. It says that the city crisis, the problem is not what you think, and that is from Joe Jackson. Also, Adamus denies illegal mining claims, and Sith IMF review puts spotlight on post-stabilization policy execution. And also ACEP warns there's a deeper power sector problems loom without transparent crisis response. And also government and IMF comments 6th review of ECF program and signals next phase of reforms. And so those are some of the stories there. Let's look at the international front this morning. On BBC, oil jumps to highest price since 2022 after reports Trump to be briefed on new Iran options. And also anti-Semitism, national security emergency, says government terror advisor after Golders Green attack. Also, this one says that attack 28 times in a day. BBC visits heavily targeted US-UK base in Iraq. And also the polar bear capital with Arctic gateway ambitions. And police say they believe abducted child was murdered as body found in outback. Also, maybe some more stories here on BBC before we move to other portals. This one says that Indians lost 2.5 billion US dollars to digital fraud in 2025. Now its central bank is fighting back. And also, Jewish agency warned of high threat level ahead of Bondi shooting, and report finds that. Also, Saudi Arabia to stop funding LIV Gulf next season. And also, this one says US studying whether to reduce troops in Germany, and that is coming from President Donald Trump. China to ban drone sales in Beijing, citing security concerns. And also, Christchurch mass killer loses bid to overturn conviction. These are some of the stories here on bbc.com. Let's move to BBC Africa and see what that portal has also got for us this morning. Here on BBC News Africa, it says that I did not expect it. Kenyan Sebastian Sawe welcomed home with jubilant celebrations. Also, Robert Mugabe's son to be deported from South Africa over firearms offense. And also, what is next for Mali's military leaders after shock of rebel offensive. Also, Madagascar detains French national over alleged plot to stir unrest. And also, Russian paramilitary carried out air strikes in Mali as rebels advanced, and that is coming from the footage. And also, this one says that France urges citizens to leave Mali after rebel attacks. And endangered antelopes flown to Kenya from Czech Zoo in historic homecoming. Let's look at CNN2 now. Oil surges to new wartime high as Trump moves extended blockade of Iranian ports. And also, Indian billionaire offers to save 80 of Pablo Escobar's cocaine hippos from Colombian coal. And also, America's only special relationship is probably Israel, says British ambassador to US in leaked comments. And also, Israel redeploys military battalion that assaulted and detained CNN team after 1 month suspension. And also, EU's yes means yes rape definition seeks to close loopholes allowing rapists to walk freely. And also, 89-year-old man arrested for allegedly wounding at least 4 people with a shotgun in Greek capital. Also, King Charles set to emphasize the US and UK shared history in address to Congress. And also, man pleads guilty to plotting attack on Taylor Swift's concert in Vienna. Also, this one says that military spending surges in Europe and Asia, pushing well to levels not seen in 16 years. A report says that. Also, royals leave handwritten message of enduring solidarity at New York's 9/11 memorial. Also, 2 Jewish men stabbed in London in what police call terrorist incident. And your hero could be a CNN hero. Okay, this one says William and Kate share family photo marking 15th anniversary. So those are some of the stories on CNN.com. Let's see CNN Africa. This one says a tourist dies after being bitten at snake show while on vacation in Egypt. Also, Mali insurgents hit military bases in complex attacks claimed by Al-Qaeda linked militants. And also, this one says Publio addresses part with Trump, says debate is not focus of his Africa trip. Also, men caught competing in women's category in prestigious South African marathon. Also, this one says that the Trump administration has gutted US aid for family planning, and many African Catholics have greeted Leo's first visit with joy. Okay, I think these are quite old stories. Let's move on to Reuters. Now, on Reuters.com, it says that U.S. war in Iran has cost $25 billion so far. And also, Trump holds talk on prolonged Iran blockade and urges Tehran to reach a deal. Also, U.S. seeks new coalition to get ships moving again in Hormuz, internal cable says. Also, Iran's guard sees wartime power and weakening supreme leader's role. Also, Iranian officials set to miss pre-World Cup FIFA meeting after turning back at Toronto airport. And also, Brent oil rises 7% on report. U.S. considering military options to break Iran. Also, this one says UAE oil break exposes deepening Saudi rifts as Gulf power shifts, and also UAE exits weekends. OPEC plus power, but group to stay together, and also White House quiet as China ramps up trade leverage before Trump and G summit. Now, legal filing raises questions about who shot Secret Service officer at press dinner. And also, 2 Jewish men stabbed in London. Police treat attack as terrorism. Israeli maps out outline expanded zone of military control in Gaza. Maybe we can touch on Reuters Africa, and then we do Bloomberg, and then we can go back to the to some other portals and try and touch on some of the stories. So let's do Reuters now. Now on Reuters Africa, HIV patients in Senegal skip treatment fearing arrest amid anti-LGBTQ crackdown. Also, Mugabe's son given fine and to be deported from South Africa for pointing a toy gun. Also, this one says South African round weekends ahead of key economic data. And Libya says 17 migrants perish at sea and 9 missing, feared dead. Also, Nigeria's Tinubu nominates new oil regulator in second leadership change in 4 months. Also, China's Jetor to produce T-Series SUVs in South Africa as it expands overseas. Also, Somalia says it kills 22 Al-Shabaab militants in operation with foreign troops. Also, Nigerian troops killed 18 militants in northeast operations. Military says that. Also, Mali turmoil threatens Russian push for influence and mineral wealth in Africa. Also, Islamic State-linked insurgents have Mali town as army tries to reassert control. And also, this one says that BNP Paribas to sell majority stake in Morocco's BMCI Homacom. Also, this one says that Kenya's equity group hunts for acquisition in Zambia and Angola. And also, Mali leader says situation under control in first speech since attacks. Also, Madagascar detains French former serviceman over alleged mutiny plot. And also, Iran war is latest blow to Somalia's malnourished children. And so those are some of the stories. Let's touch on Bloomberg finally, and then let's see what's on Bloomberg finally, and then we can go on to look at other portals. This one says Trump reportedly tells aide to prep for lengthy Hormuz blockade. Also, U.S. threatens to sanction banks that help China buy Iran oil. And also, Nasdaq futures rise in run-up to tech results, and Fed as well. Also, Hong Kong has widest trade. Okay, let me look at this one. It says a UK water firm United Utilities seeks 800 million British pounds in share sale. Also, Iran war hastens rush of clean fuel tankers turning to crude oil. Also, this one says that Saudi economic growth slows as Iran war hits oil exports, and Puma appoints new finance chief and shows progress on turnaround. Also, Invest Industrial raises 11 billion euros for lower mid-market fund. And also, this one says Trump says he rejects Iran's almost offer and sustains blockade, and U.S. seeks to deploy hypersonic missile for the first time against Iran. And U.S. seeks for feature of seized oil tankers linked to Iran. And some Altman-backed firm starts work on Zambia's top copper mine. And also, UN must do less with less, says candidate to become next leader. All right, so these are some of the stories making waves. So I've just run you through some of the headlines. We can try and touch on a few of them this morning. Now, there's been some conversations going on. Okay, let's look at this one. It says that hiring weakens as job adverts fall despite economic stability, and that is from a report. Also, it says that Ghana's unemployment pressures remain pronounced, with new data suggesting that recovery in the broader economy is yet to translate into meaningful job creation. Now, figures from the Bank of Ghana's March 2026 policy report shows that advertised job vacancies, a key proxy for labor demand, fell by 4.9% year-on-year in 4.9 year-on-year to 3,244 in February 2026, down from 3,411 in the same period last year. Now, the decline, though modest on the surface, reinforces concerns that businesses are still hesitant to expand their workforce, even as inflation eases and macroeconomic conditions stabilize. Now, on month-on-month basis, job adverts dipped slightly by 1% from 3,276 recorded in January, pointing to subdued hiring momentum at the start of the year. In cumulative terms, total advertised vacancies for the first 2 months of 2026 stood at 6,520, broadly flat compared to 6,465 in corresponding period of 2025. Further evidence of the labor market that it is largely stagnant rather than expanding, and the data highlights a critical gap in Ghana's recovery trajectory. That while indicators such as inflation and exchange rate stability have improved, businesses are yet to translate these gains into aggressive hiring. And for many firms, the focus remains on consolidation, tight cost management, cautious expansion, and productivity improvements rather than increasing headcounts. And so those are some, that's a story there from on citynewsroom.com. Let's look at some other ones before we go now. Also this one, let me see this particular story from the NDPC. Now, NDPC says that all right, GDP alone means nothing. Meaningless. GDP alone meaningless without jobs. Let me just read that as well. It says that the chairman of the National Development Planning Commission, Dr. Nimwe Thompson, says Ghana must rethink how it measures economic growth by removing beyond gross domestic product figures to include job creation and wage growth as key indicators. Speaking on Channel 1 TV's The Point of View on Wednesday, April 29, he explained that the current focus on GDP alone presents a limited picture of the country's economic performance. Now, he said there is a need to adopt a broader, more practical approach that reflects how growth affects ordinary citizens, and he stressed that true economic progress should be assessed through a combination of output growth, employment growth, and wage growth. Now, the NDPC chair further noted that GDP growth alone has little meaning for ordinary Ghanaians if it does not translate into jobs and improved outcomes. So very interesting angle from there, calling for the inclusion of job creation and wage growth as key indicators when it comes to measuring GDP growth or gross domestic product figures in Ghana. So very interesting one. So that's coming from Dr. Nimwe Thompson, who is the chair of the National Development Planning Commission. And so those are some of the stories making waves this morning. You can visit www.zmultimedia.com. We've got some interesting stories there as well. You can visit and take a read this morning. But that will be all for our news review segment. Up next is business news. Please don't go anywhere.
For the business news coming up in the headlines, Ghana begins 6th IMF program review. Also to come, Ghana Stock Exchange trading activities slumps as volume drops sharply, and Ghana pushes for global protection of telecom infrastructure. I am Ami Efwa Kwejwa. We will bring you details of our headlines and other stories shortly. Please stay. Thanks for your company. Now to the details. Ghana has officially commenced the 6th review of its program with the International Monetary Fund. Finance Minister Dr. Kasia Latofosin says the country's reform efforts have been a transformative journey that is delivering visible economic results. He made the remarks when he received an IMF mission team led by Ruben Atoyan in Accra as part of the ongoing assessment of Ghana's economic program. The finance minister noted that the collaboration between Ghana and the IMF has helped stabilize the economy, restore credibility, and renew public confidence following the 2022 economic crisis. He expressed appreciation to the IMF on behalf of government, adding that the progress made so far has been driven by fiscal discipline and difficult policy choices. Dr. Tofosin, however, stressed that the reform process must continue Senior, warning that progress does not allow for complacency. He said the next phase of the program will focus on boosting private sector growth to translate macroeconomic stability into jobs and improved living standards. Moving on, global cocoa prices are expected to plunge by more than half in 2026 after reaching historic highs in recent years. According to the World Bank's April 2026 Commodity Markets Outlook, prices could fall from about $7.80 per kilogram in 2025 to roughly $3.80 in 2026 before edging up slightly in 2027. The sharp drop reflects expectations of a recovery in global supply following severe shortages that drove record prices over the past 2 years. The report also shows beverage commodities, including cocoa and coffee, will cool significantly after surging in 2024 and 2025. For major producers like Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire, the decline could affect export earnings and farmer incomes even as production conditions improve. To some more stories, economic analyst Emmanuel Boateng has identified rising global interest rates as a key factor reducing investor appetite for gold, despite its long-standing reputation as a safe haven asset. Speaking on Business Breakfast on ZFM, Mr. Boateng explained that interest rates are among the most important drivers of gold prices, influencing how investors allocate their funds across different asset classes. Mr. Boateng noted that when financial markets become volatile or economic conditions deteriorate, investors often return to gold as a store of value.
Interest rates are one of the most important drivers of gold prices. You see, when rates are high, investors can earn returns from interest-bearing assets, such as bonds. And when investors are earning so much from bonds, permit me to say, who really cares about what gold brings to the table? Because the situation is that gold pays no yield. What that means is that it doesn't give you any interest. And so it is less attractive in such times. Have you ever heard that, we bought some gold and the interest rate on the gold is 10%? Hey, my brother, that will be very, very untrue. Gold does not pay interest. You only benefit when the price goes up and you in fact sell it. It protects you against inflation. When all those storms in the financial markets abound, gold is your anchor. It is your anchor. It shields you from inflation. It shields you from geopolitical tension. It shields you from the depreciation of your currency, among others. So gold is your anchor that holds you. Currently, major central banks are signaling that interest rates may remain higher for longer due to persistent inflation concerns. And that will shift the preference of investors towards assets that generate income and that reduces demand for gold. There is also a currency effect. Trust me, Nipebi, it is abundantly clear that higher interest rates often strengthen the US dollar, which makes gold more expensive for international buyers like you and I.
That was economist Emmanuel Boateng speaking there. Trading on the Ghana Stock Exchange ended the latest session on a weak note, with volume plunging by 82% and turnover falling by 84%. A total of 972,638 shares were traded, valued at 5.47 million cedis, raising concerns about short-term liquidity and investor participation on the market. Despite the sharp decline in activity, market performance remained mixed, with 8 gainers and 5 losers recorded among 25 listed equities. Atlantic Lithium led the gainers, while GCB Bank posted the biggest loss. MTN Ghana dominated trading volumes, followed by EcoBank Transactional and Cowbank. The benchmark GSE Composite Index, however, showed resilience, recording a slight gain, while the Financial Stocks Index declined, reflecting continued pressure within the sector. Moving on, the Managing Director of the Agricultural Development Bank, Edward Atosapon, says Ghana's commitment to fiscal discipline is strengthening both the banking sector and the wider economy. Speaking at the launch of the 2025 Non-Traditional Export Statistics Report in Accra, he noted that improved revenue mobilization, controlled spending, and stronger financial management have helped stabilize the economy and restore investor confidence. He added that these measures have enhanced liquidity in the banking sector and created a more predictable environment for businesses to grow. Mr. Sapon also highlighted the expansion of non-traditional exports as a key sign of economic progress, reducing reliance on commodities such as cocoa and gold. He stressed the need to sustain fiscal discipline and increase support for small and medium-sized enterprises to maintain the gains. Driven largely by activities in the artisanal and small-scale mining sector, as well as income from licensing, inspection, and assay services. The strong financial position has enhanced liquidity and strengthened Ghana's gold reserves, contributing to broader economic stability and supporting efforts to reduce reliance on external financing. The chairman of oil marketing companies says petrol and diesel prices are set to ease slightly at the pumps in the first pricing window of May. Comark's latest outlook shows petrol could decline by 0.51% and diesel by 6.77%. In contrast, LPG prices are projected to rise sharply by 10.41%. The reductions in petrol and diesel are linked to lower global benchmarks and government industry interventions aimed at cushioning consumers. However, the LPG increase reflects delayed effects of current tender arrangements now showing in market prices. On the international market, crude oil prices dropped by 12.33% in early May, while refined products prices also trended downward. Meanwhile, the Ghana cedi weakened slightly against the US dollar, contributing to local price adjustment. The National Petroleum Authority has set new price floors: petrol at 13 cedis 25 pesos per litre, diesel at 14 cedis 30 pesos per litre, and LPG at 13 cedis 02 pesos per kilogram. The NPA says all marketers must comply under the petroleum products pricing guidelines. To our final story, Ghana's Minister for Communication, Digital Technology and Innovations, Samuel Nati George, has urged the international community to prioritize the protection of telecommunications infrastructure during conflict. Speaking at the ongoing International Telecommunication Union Conference in Geneva, Switzerland, the minister stressed that telecom systems must be treated as critical infrastructure just like hospitals and schools. He explained that telecommunications remain central to the delivery of healthcare, education, and emergency services, warning that any disruption has immediate and far-reaching consequences for national stability and public safety. Samuel Nati George called on the ITU to take a clear global stance, noting that the growing trend of targeting telecom infrastructure in conflict zones is a matter of urgent concern. He referenced tensions in the Gulf region as an example, but emphasized that the challenge is global and requires coordinated action. He further advocated for telecom systems to be formally recognized under international protection frameworks similar to hospitals and educational facilities. This is where we end the business news, but before I go, a recap of our stories. Ghana begins a 6th IMF program review. Also, Ghana Stock Exchange trading activity slumps as volume drops sharply, and Ghana pushes for global protection of telecom infrastructure. We came your way with these stories and many others from our studio here at number 6, Anyite Avenue, East Legon, Accra. For more news, you can log on to www.zmultimedia.com, or you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and X at ZFMGH, and on TikTok and YouTube at ZMultimedia. Thank you for listening. I am Mami Ifwa Kwejwa. Nitrebi continues with the BBC.
It's your lifestyle leisure and business radio, ZFM.
In our quest to redefine modern living, Lakeside Estate proudly unveils
executive here in Accra. She's smart, she's focused. I mean, she's driven. The kind of person you would always describe as someone who is going somewhere, who has a bright future. Now, 2 years ago, she was one of the brightest in her office, where she works. She was one of the brightest. She was meeting deadlines. She handled them with ease. Her ideas were always flowing. Her energy was consistent. But lately, something has changed. Aku now starts her day with her phone. Before she even gets out of bed, she's already scrolling. Instagram, then WhatsApp, then TikTok, just for a few minutes. But you and I know that, you and I know how that story goes. By the time she finally gets up, she's already tired, or she already feels tired. Not physically tired, but mentally tired. And that is how some of us start our day. The day hasn't even started. But she gets to work, she opens her laptop, she wants to focus, but every few minutes, she hears that ping, the notification. She checks, she replies, she scrolls a little, comes back to work, and then another ping. And then before she realizes 20 minutes are gone, then 30, then 1 hour. And suddenly the same work that used to take her 2 hours to complete now takes her the whole day. So what does she do? She stays longer at the office. Not because the workload has increased, but because her attention is constantly broken. Now let's pause here because this is very important. Now studies show that when your attention is interrupted, it can take up to 23 minutes. 23 minutes to fully regain focus on a task. 23 minutes. So if your phone is interrupting you every 5 minutes, what kind of work are you really doing? What kind of work are you really doing? Now let's move beyond the office because the real cost is not just productivity, it is relationships. Aku goes home, visits her parents, she's there physically, but mentally she's somewhere else, scrolling, replying, watching. And her younger sister jokes and says, should we message you on WhatsApp so you can respond faster? And everyone laughs. But you know something? Jokes like that usually carry truth. Now in a relationship, it's even more serious. They sit together, but she's on her phone. They talk, but her attention is divided. And so one evening, in the middle of a conversation, she picks up her phone just to check something. And she doesn't fully come back. And that moment actually turned into an argument. Because from a partner's perspective, it's not about the phone. It's about presence or the lack of it. And here's the twist. Aku knows this. She's aware. She has tried to cut it down. Oh, I'll use it for just 10 minutes. She has deleted apps only to reinstall them again. Now, a few days later, now she's asking herself a question that many people are quietly asking. Am I in control of my time? Or is my phone controlling me? Am I in control of my time? Or is my phone controlling me? Now, let's bring it home. Because Aku is not alone. Globally, the average person spends over 2 hours, 30 minutes every day on social media. The average person spends over 2 hours, 30 minutes every day on social media. Now, for young professionals, that number can even be higher because that is more than 50 hours a week. 15 hours a week. Now, imagine what you could do with extra 15 hours. Maybe learn a skill, build a business, rest properly, connect deeply with people. But instead, that time is disappearing scroll by scroll. And here's something even more interesting. Research shows that heavy social media use is linked to reduced attention span, increased distraction, lower productivity, and weaker face-to-face relationships. Not because social media is evil, but because of how it is designed. Now, these platforms are built to keep you there. Endless scrolling, autoplay videos, notifications. And it's not accidental. It is actually engineered attention. And if you are not very intentional, you become the product. Now, let me be clear. We're going to have a conversation around this on our roundtable discussion. We'll go into details, But I want to let you know. One day, Aku Aku herself she told herself to use it for business, and so she does. So the question is not, should we stop using social media? That is not realistic. The real question is, are we using it or it is using us? Because when it starts affecting your focus, your work, your relation, your peace of mind, then it's no longer just a tool. It becomes something else. And this is where today's conversation becomes very important. Our topic on the roundtable this morning is how social media overuse is affecting relationships and productivity. Because what we are seeing now is a new kind of a challenge. People are connected but distracted. People are available but they are absent. They are online but they are disconnected from real life. And in the workplace, it shows up as missed deadlines, reduced outputs, constant multitasking that produces very little. And at home, it shows up as short conversations, divided attention, moments that should be meaningful becoming forgettable. And the scary part is that it's becoming normal. But you see, normal doesn't always mean healthy. And so today we are bringing in a psychologist to help us unpack this. What is really happening to our attention span? Why is it so hard to just put the phone down? How does it affect your relationships in the long term? And what practical steps can we take to regain control? These are some of the questions we are asking on our roundtable discussion this morning. And this morning, it's not about blaming anybody. It's about awareness. It's about balance. It's about making sure that, in trying to stay connected to the world, you don't lose yourself. You don't lose your connection and your connection with people around you. So if you've ever picked up your phone for 5 minutes and lost 1 hour, if you've ever been in a conversation but not really present, if you've ever felt distracted, overwhelmed, or mentally tired without knowing why, you want to stick and stay with us. Because this conversation might just change the way you use your time starting today. And so please don't go anywhere. I'm very much excited for the conversation that is coming up because I have to learn a few things around these things. And I believe that you're also going to get some value if you stick and stay. So that's the conversation that is coming up shortly on our roundtable discussion. How social media overuse is affecting relationships and productivity. Very, very important conversation. I'm saying that we're asking questions like, what exactly is happening to our attention span? Why is it so hard to drop your phone? How does that affect your relationships in the long term? How does that affect your productivity? And how can you stop? How can you regain control? Because this is a big problem many people are facing. And that's why we're having this conversation this morning. So please don't go anywhere. Stick and stay with us right here on the Business Breakfast on Zed 101.9 FM with me, Nature B. Hammond. You can engage us on our social media platforms. We're streaming live on Facebook. We're at ZFMGH. On Facebook, ZFMGH. And on YouTube, Zed Multimedia. Just go to YouTube and enter Zed Multimedia. You can be a part of the conversation. You can use the comment section, drop some comments, and I'll read them for you as the show goes on. And also, you can send us a WhatsApp. WhatsApp number is 0544 321019. 0544 321019. You can keep the number and then you can call us when the time is up, when we get into our roundtable discussion. Feel free to call us on that number. Or you can also call us on 030 39 56641. 030 39 56641. And then we can have a very good conversation this morning. So please feel free to call us or feel free to send us a WhatsApp when you want to or when we get into the conversation this morning. All right, so that will be all. We'll take a quick music break. When we return, we'll bring you transport today. Solomon Tetanati will be serving you that this morning. Please don't go anywhere. right away. Please stay tuned.
This is the pre-boarding announcement for flight 3728.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 0. All engines running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
All right, thank you very much. Solomon Tetenate is here to serve us. Solomon, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
How are you doing?
Yeah, by the grace of God, I'm doing very well. What about you?
I'm doing well too, by God's grace.
Oh,
Good to see you.
Thank God. Yeah, good to see you too.
Great.
Yeah, you're looking fresh as usual.
Hey, Charlie. Anyway, thank you. Thank you. You're not looking bad either.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you.
you're
Thank
always-
you. I thought you would say something that would have, referred you to something you heard yesterday.
I wasn't going to say anything.
Yeah, I know, right?
I can only say thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, tell us what you have for us this morning.
All right, so it's time for transport today, and I'm taking you through the local flight schedules for today. We also look at the traffic situation in town and some stories actually trending this morning in the aviation sector. But let's start with the flight schedules, and I'm starting with Passion Air Accra to Kumasi. Morning flights are 6:20, 8:50 a.m. and 11:20 a.m. 6:20 a.m., 8:50 a.m. and 11:20 a.m. And then afternoon flights are 1:50 p.m. and 4:20 p.m. 1:50 p.m. and 4:20 p.m. and then the evening flight is at 7:20 p.m. and it takes 40 minutes to get to your destination. Accra to Takoradi. Passion Air morning flight is at 6:20 a.m. and then afternoon flight is at 4:20 p.m. Morning flight 6:20 a.m. and then afternoon flight is at 4:20 p.m. and it takes 50 minutes to get to your destination. Accra to Sunyane Passion Air morning has only one flight actually for today at 9:10 a.m. and it takes 1 hour to get to your destination. Accra to Wa has only one flight available for the day as well at 9:50 a.m. and it takes 1 hour 40 minutes to get to your destination. Now Accra to Tamale. Passion Air Accra to Tamale morning flight 6 a.m. and then afternoon flights are 12:20 p.m. and 4:30 p.m. Sorry, so morning flight 6 a.m. and then afternoon flight at 12:20 p.m. and 4:30 p.m. and it takes 1 hour 20 minutes to get to your destination. So that's all for Passion Air, the local flight schedules for Passion Air. Now let's look at Africa World Airlines, how their schedule also looks like today. So Africa World Airlines Accra to Kumasi morning flights are 6:20 a.m., 8:40 a.m. and 8:40 a.m., 9:40 a.m. and 10:10 a.m. 6:20 a.m., 8:40 a.m., 9:40 a.m. and 10:10 a.m. and then the afternoon flight is at 2:10 p.m. and then evening flight is at 7 p.m. It takes 40 minutes to get to your destination. Accra to Takoradi Passion Africa World Airlines morning flight 7:20 a.m. and then afternoon flights at 12 p.m. and 4:30 p.m. and it takes 40 minutes as well to get to your destination. Accra to Tamale Africa World Airlines morning flights are 6:30 a.m. and 9:30 a.m. 6:30 a.m. and 9:30 a.m. and then afternoon flights are 12:30 p.m. and 3:30 p.m. 12:30 p.m. and 3:30 p.m. So that's all for the local flight schedules for today. Now let's look at the traffic situation in town, and today I'm coming to you from Dome Market. Currently there's traffic spotted at Dome Market, right from Gem Chapel past the Dome Market to the Shell fuel station at Dome Crossing. There's massive traffic spotted on the stretch, so you should take note of that. And that's the St. John's Dome Kwabenya Brekusu Road traffic on that stretch as we speak, so you should take note of that. So that's the traffic update for you around Dome Market. And also coming to the Hacho Atomic route, if you're heading towards Kwabenya, there's traffic spotted on the stretch right from where the Total fuel station is located, past transition all the way to where the School of Nuclear and Allied Science is located, and that's Atomic Police Station. There's traffic right from Total Hachu branch all the way to the Atomic Police Station. There's traffic on that stretch, so you should also take note of that if you are using the Atomic Hachu route at the moment. So that's the traffic update for you around that area. Coming to North Legon, there's traffic on the Agbogba Ashoman Road, massive traffic on the Agbogba Ashoman Road at the moment. So you should also take note of that right from the Agbogba Police Station past the Antes Limited all the way to where Asanka Avenue Restaurant is located. So you should take note of that. If you are using the Agbogba Ashoman Road, you are going to experience traffic on that stretch at the moment, so you should take note of that. And also traffic spotted at Agbogba School Park. If you are still using the Agbogba Shoman Road at where the school park is located, there's traffic spotted around that area all the way to where the Shell fuel station is located. So if you are using the Agbogba Shoman Road, you're going to experience traffic on that route at the moment, so you should take note of that. So that's the traffic update for you around that area. Now coming to the Gulf Street at Shiashi, there's traffic on the Gulf Street if you're heading towards the Nursing and Midwifery Council, or if you are going to where the birth and death registry is located. There's traffic on the Gulf Street, so you should also take note of that if you're using the Gulf Street at the moment. So that will be all for the traffic update. Now let's look at some stories trending in the aviation sector this morning. So Ministry of Transport has formally launched a search for strategic investors to establish a new national airline, setting an ambitious timeline that could see the carrier fully operational by the first quarter of 2027. In a request for expression of interest issued this week, the government said it is seeking qualified airline partners or consortia with the technical, financial, and operational capacity to develop a commercially viable, internationally competitive carrier based in Accra. A key requirement of the process is the ability of prospective partners to acquire, supply, and deploy aircraft and operational equipment within defined timelines, with initial fleet deployment expected no later than quarter 1 2027. So that's coming from the Ministry of Transport. And also the International Air Transport Association has called on African government to place aviation at the center of their economic development strategies, warning that the sector remains underutilized despite its potential to drive trade, tourism, and regional integration. So speaking at the IATA Focus Africa Conference in Addis Ababa, IATA's Regional Vice President for Africa and the Middle East, Camille Alawadi, described aviation as economic infrastructure for Africa, stressing that long-term benefits outweigh short-term revenue gains from taxation. So these are the stories trending in the aviation sector this morning. And thank you, Ni Trebi Hammond, for having me.
All right, thank you very much, Solomon Tetenati, for bringing us transport today this morning. The show continues. This is a business breakfast on Zed 101.9 FM with me, Trebi Hammond, and we're going to get into our market trend segment this morning. Emmanuel Boateng will be joining us shortly for a very important conversation on the markets. And so don't go anywhere, stick and stay. We'll take a quick music break. When we return, we get into all of that right here on the Business Breakfast on Zed. It's a throwback Thursday, and so enjoy Nyami Guama by Cindy Thompson. We'll be right back. It's a throwback Thursday, and so keep enjoying all our throwback songs or throwback music here. And so the good news I have for you this morning is that if you're ready to step into your dream home, Lakeside Estate has got an exclusive offer for you. Now, with this offer, you can own your own house in just 2 years with no interest repayment. Yes, you heard me right. You can own your own house in just 2 years with no interest repayment. And this offer gives you affordable payments, flexible home purchase plan, quality homes, and lifestyle choice. And you get to choose from a variety of beautiful homes in any of Lakeside Hills clusters. And so, of course, your future awaits. Just imagine living in a home you love with the freedom to invest in your dreams without the burden of interest. Yes, just imagine that. And as your CIMG Real Estate Company of the Year for the 4th time, we offer you hassle-free home acquisition. And all you have to do is to place a call to us today on 020-477-5042, 020-477 5042, or 020-477-5040, 020-477-5040, or 050-1418-622, 050-1418-622. And yes, you can actually call us now to learn more and also schedule a tour of our available homes. Lakeside Estate, you say quality homes for all. All right, so like I said, we're going to get into our market trend segment shortly. Emmanuel Boateng will be joining us for a very important conversation this morning. But enjoy this one, and we'll be right back. Hammond, and that was Aomikra by Cindy Thompson, a very timeless classic right there. But we get into our our market trend segment this morning, and today we're talking about a very important thing, which is the job market. Now, we are told by a report from the Bank of Ghana that the economy may be stabilizing with easing inflation and a more stable CD, but there's a growing concern that this recovery really is not yet reaching the labor market. And so this morning our attention is on the labor market. The data from the Bank of Ghana shows that job adverts, which is actually a key measure of hiring demand, actually fell by nearly 5% year on year in February 2026. Now, on a monthly basis, hiring activity also dipped slightly, pointing to a sluggish start to the year. Now, in simple terms, businesses are not expanding their workforce. That is what it means. They are consolidating, they are cutting costs and focusing on efficiency instead. So the question is, what exactly is holding back hiring, and what does this mean for unemployment, especially for young people who are entering the job market today? And so that's what we are talking about this morning with Emmanuel Watting, our in-house economic analyst, who joins me over the phone lines for this conversation. Ima, good morning.
Good morning, me.
How are you doing, my brother?
Yeah, I'm doing very well. How about you?
I'm doing well too, by God's grace. Yeah, thanks so much for making time to join us this morning.
You're welcome.
All right, so yes, we're looking at the job market today. Now, first of all, what does a decline in job adverts tell us about the real state of Ghana's labor market?
Thank you, and good morning to all our cherished listeners. Now, a decline in job adverts is largely a major leading indicator that labor demand remains weak.
Right.
Unlike unemployment figures, which are often lagging, job vacancies give a real-time sense of how businesses are particularly planning for the future. So a 4.9 percentage point drop suggests that firms are not actively seeking to expand their workforce, which points to underlying caution in the economy. And this is particularly important because job adverts reflect intent and not just outcomes. When companies cut back on postings, it means they are either uncertain about future demand or are choosing to operate within leaner teams. That signals a labor market that is not yet confident enough to absorb more workers.
I see.
It also suggests that the recovery is uneven. So while macro indicators like inflation and exchange rate stability may be improving, the labor market, which directly affects households, is lagging behind. And this creates a disconnect between economic data and lived experience. So overall, the data is pointing to a labor market that is stable but quite stagnant.
I see. Instead of it being dynamic and expanding, I guess. Hello, Emmanuel.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm saying that instead of it being dynamic and expanding, right?
Yes.
I see, but why is economic stability not translating into job creation? What exactly is a missing recovery there? Because I know that according to you economists, once we are seeing some macroeconomic stability or macroeconomic growth, then things should be able to reflect in terms of labor. Why are we not seeing that? What exactly is missing, or what exactly is missing in the recovery?
Well, thank you. Economic stability is generally a necessary condition for job creation,
right?
Because you cannot create jobs if the economy in itself is not stable. But it is not a sufficient condition on its own. You see, what Ghana is experiencing is a recovery driven more by macro level adjustment than by strong private sector expansion. I think we've had discussions on this, how the private sector is not able to as it were, absorb the excess labor in the economy. The businesses are seeing improved conditions, but not enough improvement to justify hiring the excess labor aggressively. And there is a major missing piece, which is demand growth. If consumer demand remains weak, firms have very little incentive to expand production or even hire more workers, and stability generally reduces uncertainty.
Right.
But without strong demand, it does not automatically translate into growth.
Yeah.
Another factor is cost pressure. Even with easing inflation, businesses may still be dealing with high operating costs, which includes energy, which includes borrowing and imported inputs. In such an environment, hiring becomes merely a secondary priority, not your topmost priority. So what is missing is confidence-driven expansion, where businesses move from survival mode to growth mode. Until that shift happens, I think that job creation will relatively remain subdued.
But as a country, is that something we have seen in the past where things are stable and then it actually translates to growth in or maybe expansion of jobs and all of that?
Oh, not really the case. I think that the fact that you are seeing growth does not mean that it's job-rich growth. So we have growth and we have job-rich growth. So there is growth. I've said it before. How we compute growth is a formula. So that growth could be coming from oil and gas. That growth could be coming from mining and quarrying. It may not really be coming from the sectors of the economy that employs the most people. What that will mean is that the growth will be concentrated or will be coming from the hands of a few people and not the vast majority of the people. And so growth necessarily does not mean a job-rich growth. That is why some of us do argue every now and then that when you want to spend as a government, spend around the productive sectors of the economy. I don't know if you get the point that I'm making.
I get the point.
Yeah. So you spend around sectors of the economy that can absorb the excess labor. We also often make the point that your work as government is to create that enabling environment for the private sector to thrive so that they can employ. Yeah, so you may experience growth, but it is because you exported a lot of goods.
And so it won't translate to exactly what is happening on the grounds in terms of jobs. But would you say, and I'm sure this ties into some structural barriers to hiring, I'm not too sure, but would you say that businesses today are being overly cautious, or there are some structural barriers that are preventing hiring?
Well, it's a mixture of them. It's a combination of both caution and structural constraints. Because on one hand, businesses are understandably cautious after a period of economic instability. They are prioritizing balance sheet strength. They are prioritizing cost control. And of course, efficiency over expansion. But when you look at the other side of it, there are structural barriers that make hiring even more difficult. Number one is access to credit. It remains a major challenge, particularly for small and medium-skilled enterprises. High interest rates and tight lending conditions, all of these limit the ability of firms to invest in growth, which in turn limits hiring. There is also the issue of regulatory and operational constraints. Energy reliability. Today, this point is alive. Talking about doomsday. If energy is not reliable, if energy is not predictable, it affects your productivity. That is structural. Tax burdens, and compliance costs. All of these factors can discourage firms from expanding their workforce. And these factors create a business environment where scaling up is not straightforward. So while caution is a rational response, it is reinforced by structural limitations that need to be addressed for hiring to pick up meaningfully.
I see. But for the most parts of say last year, we saw that there wasn't as much doomsaw like we are seeing now, and the doomsaw, as we are told, is as a result of some fire substation that got burnt and all of that. And so, are we saying that if those ones are fixed, we are going to maybe that is just one part of the solution.
I don't know why I didn't bring in that up, because somebody like me, from what I've seen so far, the doomsaw started before that fire outbreak. So, we know our government. Sometimes they don't own up to accountability, and they find reasons to manage the psychological economy. And that is okay, but I don't even want to wade to that conversation at all. People are suffering. Clearly people are. I move around and I hear people. I see people's WhatsApp status. I'm on X and I see so many versions of the situation. And these are challenges that presses us as a country. And I think that the direction we need to look into is how can this be solved. We cannot have this perennial issue. This issue cannot be with us decades over decades over decades. It should end at a point. So for me, the real problem is not really even the doomsaw. But when I talk about energy reliability, that's why I say it's alive today. Because if your light is not stable and you're a business, it affects you. You need energy to operate. You need it. And once it is off and you don't have an alternative source of power, like a plant, a generator, and the like, then you are in trouble. It's just what it is.
Right. And so all those issues must be solved for us to see some transformation when it comes to the labor market. Fair enough. Now, how significant is the 4.9% drop in job adverts? Should we be worried about this, or maybe this is marginal?
Well, let's chill. Let's get some malt and water and then chill. Because on its own, a 4.9% decline may not really seem alarming. Labor market data can fluctuate, and a single-digit drop could be interpreted as marginal.
Right.
However, naturally, context is everything. This decline comes at a time when the economy is supposedly stabilizing, which makes it even more concerning. More importantly, the drop is accompanied by flat cumulative figures and a slight monthly decline.
Yeah.
And this suggests that the issue is not just a one-off fluctuation, but part of a broader trend of weak hiring momentum. So the concern is not the magnitude of the drop, but what it represents. And what does it represent? A lack of forward momentum in job creation. And in a recovering economy like ours, we would expect job adverts to rise, not to fall.
Yeah.
What's the harm job adverts will create? It doesn't create any harm. So while the number itself is modest, the underlying signal is what is quite significant. It points to a labor market that is not yet responding to macroeconomic improvements.
You talk about the flat trend. What does that, the flat trend in vacancies, what does that tell us about medium-term employment prospects?
Well, a flat trend in job vacancies suggests that the labor market is in a holding pattern. What does that mean? It means that businesses are maintaining current staffing levels, but are not expanding significantly.
Right.
And this implies that employment growth is likely to be slow in the medium term. For job seekers, this means increased competition for limited opportunities. Even if layoffs are not widespread, the lack of new openings makes it harder for unemployed individuals to find work. It also has implications for wage growth. In a stagnant labor market, workers have less bargaining power, which can keep wages subdued even as the cost of living remains high. So overall, the flat trend indicates a slow and gradual recovery in employment rather than a rapid rebound, as we may expect.
So are we saying that companies are actually prioritizing productivity and cost cutting over expansion? Is that what we are saying?
Precisely
if yes,
so.
why?
And this is
Why?
it's a defining feature of the current phase of recovery. You see, many firms are focusing on doing more with less, as we'll call it efficiency. Their focus is to improve efficiency, adopting technology, streamlining their operations, and what have you. And this approach typically allows them to maintain profitability without increasing headcount.
Okay.
It's partly driven by necessity. You've gone through a challenging economic period. Businesses are reluctant to therefore take on additional fixed costs, which include salaries. Instead, they are optimizing their existing resources. And there is also a longer-term structural shift toward productivity. Automation, digital tools, and process improvements are enabling firms to operate with fewer employees. While this boosts efficiency, it can limit job creation in the short term. So the emphasis on productivity reflects both caution and transformation in how businesses operate.
I see, but how does this affect? I mean, the effect will then be on youth unemployment, isn't it? And even those who are now entering the workforce. I mean the new graduates. How does that affect them?
Well, young people and new graduates are the most affected by weak hiring. As you know, young people rely heavily on entry-level positions, which are often the first to be cut when firms reduce recruitment. Whenever any firm wants to downsize, it is the young people's work they first touch.
Yeah, of course, they won't bring in more new people. They'll, if there are maybe vacancies, it will be vacancies where somebody has left and it's an essential place and they have to replace a person, isn't it?
Yeah, but the point I'm even making is when they are downsizing, when they are reducing their labor force, they start typically from the younger people, the entry level positions, because those are not the prime positions in the organization. These are positions they can do without, more or less. And a stagnant labor market means fewer opportunities for skill development and career progression. And that usually will lead to underemployment, where graduates take jobs below their qualification level or a season of prolonged unemployment. The long-term implications are significant. Extended periods without employment can actually erode skills. Wako suku, you've built some skills, you are well equipped, and you've been staying home without working. If your skills are not being used, if they are not being put to use, over time, it erodes. That's the point. It erodes. And it will reduce earning potential and create social and economic challenges. And that makes youth employment a critical matter. Without targeted interventions, the gap between education and employment would widen further.
I see. Iman, permit me to take you back a bit. When you spoke early on about interest rates and how that is, and also financing constraints, and how that is actually limiting private sector expansion. Could you expand on that?
Well, even though inflation is easing, borrowing costs are high for many businesses, especially the SMEs. Access to affordable credit is still a major limitation for them. What does high interest rates do? Number one, high interest rates will increase the cost of investment. If cost of investment is increased or is high, it makes it less attractive for firms to expand operations or hire additional staff through borrowing. So what would the firms do then? with this challenge in hand, they would focus on maintaining their existing operations.
Right.
So that's the bottleneck there. Financing constraints do not just affect firms that way, they also affect working capital. Working capital is the money you have at hand for your day-to-day operations.
Right. Yeah.
And without sufficient liquidity, businesses may struggle to meet their day-to-day expenses, let alone invest in growth.
Right.
What am I saying? And you are talking about a dream car, a dream house. So with what you would even use for your breakfast, you don't have that. And you are thinking about what? Building castles. Well, you better build it in the air. So monetary conditions continue to play a major role in shaping hiring decisions.
Right.
See, until credit becomes more accessible and affordable, expansion would remain constrained.
I see. Now, I've heard the Bank of Ghana governor actually say that that's one of his priorities. As governor, he wants to actually drop the interest rates. To the lowest. I think he gave himself about not too sure, but a single digit really, and that is actually likely going to expand. Growth in these areas, like we are saying. But from where you sit, Ima, what sectors do you think are likely to drive job creation? And would you say that they are underperforming?
Well, literally, I'll just say that manufacturing is one of them. Number two, and of course, I mentioned the areas that can really create a lot of jobs for our young people. I'm not necessarily saying the young people want to be there. I don't know if you get the distinction I'm trying to make. So a young person sitting in Adentam and Probi and the like may possibly be thinking of a certain dream job, But I'm mentioning the sectors that are viable to create employment and not necessarily the dream job you've been thinking of. And that's the point I want to make. So sectors like manufacturing, sectors like construction, agriculture, and services typically drive job creation in Ghana. But many of these sectors are also currently underperforming. And in fact, some are even growing very slowly. When you take manufacturing, for example, they face high input costs and competition from imports.
Yeah.
Construction is sensitive to interest rates and public investment. When you take agriculture, while it is labor intensive, it is affected by climate variability and market access challenges. The services sector, particularly digital and financial services, is growing but may not generate large-scale employment compared to traditional sectors. This explains the need for sector-specific policies to unlock job creation potential. Without targeted support, these sectors may not deliver the employment growth needed. What policy interventions are needed then to turn recovery into real jobs? First, there needs to be a stronger focus on private sector growth.
It looks like you're asking because I was actually going to come to that. It's interesting how you just went straight into that because I was going to ask you the same policy interventions. Yes, the policy interventions. Yes, I was going to ask what policy intervention. So you can just go ahead. What do we need to be able to turn the recovery into real jobs? I
was talking about private sector growth. I said that as government, you need to create that enabling environment for the private sector to thrive. We need policies that reduce the cost of doing businesses.
Right.
Tax incentives for emerging businesses. We need to rethink our taxation. See, you can use tax as a tool for future dividend, like to get future dividends. Don't use taxation to kill businesses. Use it to grow them so that when they have grown in the future, you can get money out of them.
But do you think a lot of people have knowledge on the tax incentives that actually exist in this country?
Maybe yes, maybe not. But the tax incentives that exist currently, they are nothing to write home about. Maybe one day we can have a discussion on that. But it won't that hot. Yeah. So it inside is not clear.
All right, go on. You talk about tax incentive. Which
energy reliability, regulatory reforms, all of these can encourage firms to expand. But it's not just about focusing on private sector growth, but also access to finance. That is very, very crucial. Low interest rates, credit guarantees, targeted lending programs, all of these can help businesses invest in growth and job creation. Then there should be targeted employment programs. Of course, we've seen some of these in the country, targeted employment programs. You know, some of the governments have had some special names for some of these programs.
Yeah.
I don't want to mention it. Very political names and the like. But trust me, if job creation is not sustainable, today we are not just interested in you creating jobs. We are interested in you creating a sustainable job.
Right.
A job that when you get, a person gets, the person knows that they are sorted at least for 5 to 10 years. A job that protects their vulnerability. That is the kind of job I'm talking about. So that is the whole point. So that is important. Skill training and the likes. And the way we do these things in this country, it looks like we want to even take advantage of the youth.
How do you mean?
How do you say you've done skill training for a young person if there is no impact assessment, if after the skill has been built, there is really nowhere for that skill to be practiced. There is no avenue, and we keep doing these things, and even the young people that we claim we are helping them build such skills, we really don't know where they go to next, what they do with the training we've given them. Do you know what I think?
What do you think?
We are in a hurry to write a report that I've trained 10,000 Ghanaian young people by June 2026 with a skill to develop a computer software. And we fail to answer the question, have they developed that software? Did we discuss that part? What is the impact assessment? That's the point I'm making. And so, yes, we'll come for the training, but it doesn't reflect in Ghana.
And that's a problem.
That's the point I'm making.
That's a big problem.
It is. How do you teach young people entrepreneurship? And there is really nothing entrepreneurial about the country. But you claim you've been training people with entrepreneurial skills.
They don't have access to capital.
That could be one of the reasons, and many others.
Right. Okay, Ima, our time is up, and so if you have any final words to put across, then we can go.
We are at a point where Ghanaians are not necessarily interested in inflation 3%, GDP growth this percent. The question they keep asking, if we cannot translate this macro development to have micro impact, let's stop talking about them. We don't need them. And that is really the point. We need these macro developments to translate into micro impact in the lives of the people.
All right, Ima, thank you very much for your time, and thanks for actually sharing your thoughts with us this morning. We're really grateful.
You're welcome.
All right, so that was Emmanuel Boateng, in-house economic analyst, and he's been talking to us about the report, the data from the Bank of Ghana that shows that job adverts, which is actually supposed to be a key measure of hiring demand, actually fell by nearly 5% year on year in February 2026. And that is, he says that it is marginal. It is not something that we have to be so worried about. But of course, the numbers we are seeing, the macro economic indicators must actually be able to translate into jobs, to be able to translate into, into real growth in our job sector, in our labor market, really, and also help people to be able to have something on them. But if we're not seeing that, then there's a problem. And it says that there's lots of challenges that are actually influencing this. People are focused so much on productivity now because, they have certain challenges that they are dealing with, like financing, like access to capital, and all of those things, energy reliability. These are all things that people are battling with. And so because of that, they are unable to actually open up or expand or bring in more people, to come and work. And that's something that we have to look at. If we really want to deal with that, then we must solve those structural challenges, and that will be able to help us to make progress when it comes to our labor market. And so that is the conversation we just had. If you just tuned in, this is Business Breakfast on Zed. If you missed any part of the conversation and you want to go and play back, you are free to do that. You can visit our Facebook platform. We're streaming live on Facebook at ZFMGH and on YouTube at Z Multimedia. Feel free to visit and play back this particular conversation. But right after that, right about now, we're going to get into our roundtable discussion, but we'll take a quick music break. And when we return, we get into our conversation today. Today, what are we talking about? We're talking about social media and how overuse of that actually affects our relationships and our productivity. If you're somebody who has been struggling to drop your phone, yes, you're unable to drop your phone because you move from one social media to another, and sometimes you even go back without even knowing. You go back to a particular social media. You didn't know that you just left there, and then you go and, hey, what did I come here to do? If you're like that, this particular conversation is for you. Very important conversation about productivity and also relationships, largely as a result of the impact of social media. And so we'll talk about that this morning right here on our show. I have a mental health advocate who will be joining me. He's going to tell us exactly what happens to our attention span, why it's so hard to put your phone down, and what practical steps you can actually take to regain control over your life and your mind and your brain and your everything. And so please don't go anywhere. If you know anybody that must join this conversation, somebody you have to be drawing, whose attention you've been drawing to drop their phone sometimes and all of that, feel free to send them the link. We are on Facebook, like I said, at ZFMGH, and on YouTube at Z Multimedia. Share the link with them, and then they can be a part of the conversation this morning. Also, you can take our number and send us a WhatsApp. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to do that. 0544 321019, 0544 321019, or you can call us on 030395661, 030395661, and then we'll read your messages. We'll give you opportunity to actually speak to us this morning, or speak with us this morning, and then we'll also read your messages if you send us one. So thank you very much. We'll get into our roundtable discussion shortly, but like I said, we'll take a quick music break. When we return, we'll get into all of that. It's still a Throwback Thursday. Enjoy the Awo Mikra by Cindy Thompson. We'll be right back.
Osaye Welcome to Zed Multimedia Online. Don't forget to follow us on all our socials on TikTok at Zed Multimedia, LinkedIn at Zed Multimedia, YouTube, Zed TV, ID, X, and Facebook at ZFMGH. Do enjoy this video.
These things have become part of our daily routine. They keep us connected, but they may also be affecting how we focus, how we work, and how we even relate to the people around us. And so today we are asking a very important question: that is social media helping us, or is it quietly taking more than we realize? And I'm joined by my very good brother and friend, Justice Oklu, who's a mental health advocate, and he's in studio to have this conversation with me. Justice, Charlie, it's been how many years?
It's been a while.
Yeah. How's everything?
By God's grace, I'm doing very well.
Good to see you.
Good to see
you
too.
Looking fresh.
Thank you.
What's the secret?
I don't know. Maybe it's God's grace.
Anyway, I'm so excited to have you this morning for this conversation. So we're talking about social media, and we said the topic is really social media overuse and how that affects our relationships and also our productivity as a people. And so let's start from here. Maybe basically, when we talk about social media overuse, what are we talking about?
Okay, so first of all, good morning to your hearers and everyone. So I will always want to begin my submissions by talking about the lens or the perspective or the views through which a psychologist see things. Okay, so that as we go through this topic, we're able to better appreciate the conversation in 4 angles. Okay, so there is the biological side of this conversation we'll be having. There is the psychological side of this conversation. When I say psychological side, I am talking about our mind, our thoughts, then our emotions. Then there is a social part that we'll also be talking about, which has to do with our relationships or our interactions with ourselves. Then there is what we'll call the spiritual side, not necessarily talking about angels and demons or spirits, but we are talking about unseen, the unseen. And when we talk about the unseen, we are interested in our belief systems. So there is a way we think, there is a way we've grown up believing certain things that actually affect our mental health, which will also chip in as we go ahead with this topic. Okay, so social media overuse. If you want to bring it to the clinical setting, we will say it's what we call social media addiction, or problematic social media usage. Okay, so then someone will ask, okay, what is social media overuse? I believe strongly that someone will say, oh, social media overuse is using too much of the social media. Another person will say, oh, social media overuse will be that the person is actually using it because he's working. For example, if the person is in the media space, definitely he cannot do away with the social media. Well, we are here to help us understand it. So after I give the definition, I'll just go ahead to the misconceptions or what social media.
We'll have a long conversation.
Okay, so that's fine. That's fine with me. Okay, so I will try my possible best not to be very technical. Okay,
sure.
So social media overuse is, first of all, a behavioral addiction. Okay, that has to do with the amount of time you spend on social media.
So time.
Yes, the amount of time you spend on social media to the extent that it interferes with your daily life and your relationships. Okay, so let me just read it as it is. So social media overuse is when the amount of time spent online begins to interfere with your real life responsibilities, your relationships, and your emotional well-being. Okay, so it is not just talking about, you know, how long you are online, but it's whether you have lost control over what you are doing online and how it is affecting your day-to-day activities. So, for example, I can be so much on social media that it actually affects my sense of responsibility towards certain things. So maybe I am supposed to do something at work. I've been given a certain task to do, but because I am just on social media, the time that requires of me to actually do that task, I might end up not even doing it at all, simply because I'm on social media and I've lost control over the space that I find myself in.
Right.
Okay.
I see. So essentially, if I get you well, it's not about, today you spend 2 hours on social media, or maybe you check that feature, I've forgotten how they call it, on your productivity, this thing on iPhones, It's not about, I spent 2 hours on social media, or I spent 3 hours. As long as it affects your relationships and also your productivity and all the things, your emotional well-being, then you are overusing it.
Exactly.
But if it doesn't, you are fine.
No.
Is that what?
Exactly. That's what I mean. So someone will say, media, I'm not overusing the social media because I use social media for just
1 hour,
1 hour.
2 hours, yeah.
But when we do a quick analysis into the 1 hour that you are using on the social media, at the end of the day, something is being affected. Your emotional well-being is being affected. Your relationships are being affected. And when I talk about relationships, I'm talking about the people that you interact with physically.
Right.
So maybe at workplace, in the house, or maybe at a social event, or even at a family meeting. So at a family meeting, the individual might just be on his or her phone. And at the end of the day, for 1 hour, the whole 1 hour, the person was not present in the family meeting. Neither paying attention to whatever thing that was being shared or contributing.
Right.
Because he was just on his phone. So yes, he was not on his phone for 2 hours or 3 hours or the whole day. But that very 1 hour that he spent,
he wasn't present.
Exactly. It interfered with what demands was placed on him at that very moment. Okay.
So I want to ask this question.
Well, I think that we can look out for what social media overuse is not, like the misconception.
Okay, so maybe just
help
briefly.
help us.
I think we mentioned one, the idea about time.
Yes.
How long?
Exactly.
Yes.
So someone will say it is part of my job. It cannot be harmful. So, for example, you are in the media space. Other people are also in the media space, and they say, as for me, I am behind my computer. I have to be on the internet. I have to be on this social, unless I will not be able to work. So it is not harmful. Apparently, even though your work might be related, and you might be spending excessive number of hours, on the social media, the question here is, does it pose a challenge to your mental health?
Okay.
Does it bring you fatigue? Or does it prevent you from doing what you have actually been asked to do on the social media space? That's one of the things. That's one of the misconceptions. The fact that it is part of your job does not entirely mean that it cannot be harmful.
Right.
Okay. Then you can also go ahead and then say, someone will say, if it's social media, then it means that it must either be completely bad or completely good. So if it's a social media overuse, it should be good or it should be bad. But actually, there is nothing like it is good or it is bad. It actually depends on you understanding the benefits and the risk involved. If you know that staying on it for a very long time is actually going to affect you in a way that might not really be beneficial to you, then you should know that it really goes a long way to affect you. Okay. So the key issue is how and when and why it is used. Okay. Then we also have someone will say, multitasking with social media does not affect my productivity.
Does it?
Yes, I'm coming. So someone will say, I can be on WhatsApp, and still have my research work done. I can be on WhatsApp and still do a lot of things that I'm doing. But the question here is that it reduces the connection that you are supposed to have in terms of whatever task that is actually given towards you. Now, we are not talking about you being on social media. We are talking about the overuse of social media. So someone might be like, this people is like they're discouraging us from being on social media. No. We are more interested in why and how and when you use this social media.
Okay.
And I think one of the last misconception we can also look at too is that you can stop anytime you want. Once there is overuse, it means that you can stop anytime you want. You see, earlier I spoke about the fact that in the clinical setting, it's a behavioral addiction. And addiction is not like, addictions are not things that are stopped in a day. Because it was a habit that was built over time, it's surely going to take you some amount of time or period to break away. Okay. So So many people actually underestimate the fact that it is like a habit forming activity. The overuse is a habit forming activity. So it's actually designed to make you disengage with things that actually requires your full attention.
Right.
All right. So those are the clear things that
you want to.
The misconception I just want to
very
rule out
very
here.
very important. But do you think that people are aware today that social media overuse, for instance, is problematic?
Okay. So awareness can come in different ways and in different forms. Okay. So, for example, I mean, being in the psychology field or being a psychologist, we come to understand that these things are actually plaguing a lot of people. They're actually affecting a lot of people. But we are able to say the reason why the person is feeling this way is because of his excessive interaction with the media space or with an online engagement he's having whatsoever.
Right.
Okay. But the other individual might not really know the knowledge we have. Okay. Then that's when, our signs and symptoms comes in. So when we say signs and symptoms are subjective to your experiences. What am I experiencing as a result of my overuse of social media? Okay. Then we have signs. Signs are objective. Signs are what we are able to measure or what we are able to detect and say, this person's overuse of the social media is causing him to be this or that.
Right.
Okay. So, yes, the individual might not really be aware that this social media that I find myself in overuse or this social media addiction that I have is really affecting me. They might not be able to tell.
But you guys are able to
Exactly.
tell.
But other people too are able to tell because they realize that the time that I'm actually supposed to spend on certain productive things or certain things that have been placed before me to work on or demand, they realize that, I think that I'm not able to do it simply because
I spend a lot of time
on
social media,
on my phone. But when it comes to the clinical setting, it will take a psychologist to discern,
right?
To say, see, the number of times you are spending on social media is affecting your sleep or the quality of your sleep.
Okay.
Or in fact, it is the reason why your moods are this way.
Right.
Or the reason why maybe depression is this level or that level.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
So the basis of it is that people are able to tell that, I think that the social media thing is actually taking my time. That is majority of the times, that's what people are able to tell. But when it comes to the clinical
on their health,
on their mental health,
right.
and on their fatigue, they are not really able to tell because they feel that it is just a social thing that I'm just using my eyes to do.
Okay.
But there is more to it.
Right. I see. But what exactly about social media makes it so addictive?
Okay. So, first of all, I think earlier when I spoke about the fact that we'll look at it from the biological side. Okay. So, there is something we call dopamine. Okay. I want to talk about the science of social media. I think maybe it should come after this question. So, practically, there is this what we call dopamine, and it's more like the reward systems, of the individual. Okay. So, for example, the individual might say, anytime I go on social media, I am able to laugh. I am able to feel very happy. But you ask yourself, whatever is causing you to be sad, once you are away from the social media space, are you still happy? They'll tell you no. So that's one of the reasons why it can be addictive. Addictive in its nature because of the place of dopamine.
Right.
And we are saying dopamine is a reward system. It's part of the reward system. It makes you feel I have achieved something.
Okay.
But in reality, whatever led you to feel that way has not actually left. Or the problem that made you feel a certain way has actually not left. Then there is also that side where people feel that, or they feel very important because when I go on social media, I have people engaging me. I have people, giving me more likes.
Right.
I can see a lot of views on my content, and sometimes people who are like celebrities sometimes get very depressed. They get addicted to likes and good comments.
Attention. Really.
Exactly. So attention is also a currency though, so once they actually come across oh, Charlie, this person has liked this video, and I can see like 10K likes. But why is it that today I just posted this video, or maybe after a month it's just 1K like? At the end of the day, the person might say that, oh, my mood is as a result. He or she might not see that the reason why my mood is the way it is because of just a 1K like instead of a 10K
right.
like, or even maybe they put out a song expecting it to be a banger or expecting it to be a hit, and it's not a hit. It can get to them. Okay. So some people might hop on social media or get addicted because of the positive response they receive from the media spaces. All right. So those.
But do you think it's also a discipline problem, the whole social media overuse thing, or it is actually because of how the apps have been designed?
Well, they are intertwined. Boundary setting, of course, is discipline. Once we do not set boundaries for certain activities we engage ourselves in, anything can come at any time and anyhow. All right. I think in scripture, in the book of Proverbs, it says a city without walls or a city without gates is like a man without.
Yeah. I know the scripture. Just that
no, not the main scripture, but what it says.
Right.
You know, a city without walls is like.
It's like a man without something.
Without discipline,
it's like a city without
walls.
Yes.
There will surely be enemies infiltrating.
Yes.
So definitely, that's one of the things that really is.
Yeah, I think that scripture talks about self-control. Really, the lack of self-control.
So
you don't have.
Once we do not set boundaries, yes, the apps have been designed in a way that it's very engaging. For example, TikTok. Once you finish watching the algorithms, you say, okay, there are a lot of people watching this. Okay, then I'm going to watch it. Okay, then after that, you realize that you want to watch another thing. You want to watch. So yes, some apps are actually designed that way. But then you realize that it's actually based on the individual to set the boundaries.
I see. But why do people feel the urge to check their phones even when there's no notification?
So that's when addiction also comes in. Sorry. So that's when addiction also comes in. In fact, that's actually one of the signs.
Okay.
And when we say someone is having social media overuse, so that's practically one of the signs that we can say. The reason why they have a feeling, or they have a thought to check even when there is really nothing practically happening is simply because there is this attachment that has been formed.
Okay.
So once the attachment has been formed, it already gave me a certain feeling coming online to check what is really happening. So my emotions have been intertwined with the way I'm thinking.
Right.
And definitely it is much more interested in the feeling. For example, if you have eaten a certain food for a very long time, even if you do not see the food, you can perceive how it is going to taste because you are used to it. So there is an emotional side of why people will want to keep going to a place when they know that even the thing is not present.
Right.
It's because of attachment.
Yeah. I see. Let me announce the lines in case anybody's listening to us and they have any questions. Well, if you just tuned in, this is Business Breakfast on Zed 101.9 FM with me, Nicho Bihamon. Now, this morning we're talking about how social media overuse affects our relationships and our productivity. My guest is Justice Oklu. He is a mental health advocate and he's in studio with me having this conversation this morning. You are free to join us. Send us a WhatsApp if you have your questions or comments. The number to text is 0544-321019, 0544-321019, or you can also call us on that same number, or 030-3956-641, 030-3956-641, and then we give you the opportunity to ask your questions this morning. Also, we're streaming live on Facebook at ZFMGH and on YouTube at Zed Multimedia. Please feel free to drop a comment under the live stream. We'll read them for you. If there are questions, we'll get them answered. If there are comments, we'll just read them for you. All right, Justice, let's continue the conversation. Yeah. So let's talk about our attention span. I know that spending a lot of time on social media actually affects our attention span. What happens to us when we do that, when we spend a lot of time on social media?
Okay.
Specifically to our attention.
All right. So our brain is actually designed in a way to focus on very few things at a time. You know, some people will say, oh, like I spoke about multitasking. They'll say, oh, I can be on WhatsApp and still be very productive. Depending on whatever activity that is actually being done. However, the benefit or the effectiveness of whatever activity that is involved reduces. One time I came across a quote. It says that what you give attention to gives you direction. So in other words, our attention span can actually be distracted because we have focused on something for over a longer period of time.
Okay.
Rather than maybe a shorter period of time, or maybe an appropriate period of time when we know that it will not actually have an impact on whatever activity that we are supposed to do or whatever task that is put before us. So yes, our attention span actually can be very, very distracted depending on what we are actually engaged on.
I see. So that's so it affects our attention span. Now,
Yes, it does.
When people actually often blame workload for burnout. They say that I'm burnt out because I'm doing too much and all of that. How much of that could actually be digital distraction?
Okay. So,
in other words, how does digital distraction actually fuel burnout?
Okay. So okay, I would have spoken about sleep, but then let's put sleep aside. There are certain chemicals in our bodies that actually demands certain I want the right word. I don't use a technical word. There are certain chemicals in our bodies that are actually being affected by what we expose ourselves to. Okay. So burnout, for example, is the extreme form of stress, long-term stress. So, for example, the person is using the social media space to deal with boredom.
Okay.
However, you realize that what they are trying to deal with is not actually solving the main problem. So the person says, oh, I feel very tired from work. So the best place to be is on social media. And what the person really needed was just rest, or taking time off the social media space,
right,
just to have enough rest. So I don't know if I've really given an answer to the question.
I think it's fairly clear. But let's talk about the impact on relationships.
Okay.
How does social media overuse affect our relationships?
Okay. So people might say that, oh, I mean, I am digitally connected. I can have video calls with my relation, with my wife, or with my girlfriend, or my boyfriend, or my business partners, and they feel that the physical interaction can actually. I'm not saying that in case the person is in Asia and you are in maybe in case the person is in India and you are in Ghana, we definitely have to make sure that we do away with the social media space. I'm not saying that. So someone might say that these people, they are discouraging us from engaging in the social media space. We are not saying what we are saying.
Not it. Yeah.
What we are saying is that, is it affecting your relationship negatively? So if my interaction with a partner or somebody that I'm in a relationship with is being affected as long as we keep interacting on the social media space, then it means that there is something wrong.
Okay.
So there is something physical presence does to a relationship your digital presence might not be able to do. For example, if I'm talking to somebody on phone, the person is not able to discern my non-verbal cues. The person cannot tell whether I'm smiling or I am angry. The person cannot tell my facial expressions, and we know that one of the key aspects of our relationship is communication. So there are certain things that the digital space actually hides. Sometimes network problems can make our tonations sound as if we were harsh or we didn't mean what we said. But probably, for example, if someone was telling somebody, I love you, it comes with a certain expression that talking on phone might not necessarily give. Okay. So yes, I mean, the social media space to some large extent, I mean, the overuse of it to some large extent affects relationship. There is also what we call phobing, or what maybe the layman would call snobbing. I can be on my phone while I'm in a conversation with you in person.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you do not have my presence in fullness. So it can be a family meeting. And someone will say, about family meeting, I was there, I was with my phone, I was paying attention. But at the end of the day, you never gave anything in the family meeting. And you never received anything 100%. I don't know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get the picture.
Okay. So there is an aspect where we are denied certain things, physical relationships or physical association is supposed to give. There is also another aspect where we tend to ignore certain very important things in whatever physical relationship or conversation or environment we find ourselves in, because we are engaged in a...
Can you give an example?
Well, I mean, I give an example concerning the family meeting.
No, that's, but you're making a second point,
which is...
But you made a point.
So practically, I was just building from the first point.
Okay, right.
Where I said that there are certain things we will not actually have, you know, or experience if we are just on social media to interact with our various relationships with other people.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, for example, facial expression. Someone will say, okay, there is video call. But then video call does not reveal entirely everything about what the person really wants to put across.
Right.
So sometimes, I mean, people misunderstand certain expressions.
Okay. I get that point. Essentially, what you're saying is that there are things that in-person, face-to-face interaction gives you that social media cannot give you.
Certainly.
Right. And the second thing you're also saying is that people feel snubbed when in the presence, I mean, they are with you in the same space. And you're talking to, I mean, they're talking to you and you are logged in your phone. You are just paying attention in your phone. And that, what is the effect of that?
In terms of?
The effect of you being on your phone and not paying attention to the person.
Number one, you have lost full concentration of whatever conversation that is going on. And number two, you are also sending a signal to the other person that you're having a conversation that, oh, you are not important, or what you are saying is not important. For example, if the president is in my presence here, there is no way I'll pick my phone and be on my phone while he's talking, because I have actually esteemed him in a certain way,
right,
than maybe a casual friend. And most of the times, we actually tend to do it with our normal people, our normal friends. When we actually think that we actually hold a relationship in high esteem, they might be understanding it from a different, like, Charlie, he's not even interested in what I'm saying. That's why he's on his phone.
Right.
But in reality, it might not be necessarily that. So it can also create actually unrealistic expectations. I'm talking about in terms of the person that you are actually interacting with. I don't know if...
But do you see a trend like that in terms of how family members... Now, you talk about family meeting, and, you know, of course, when we talk about family meeting, most of the times it's about the extended family, maybe for a funeral or something.
Oh,
well, but I know that, of course, I know that there's a nuclear one as well.
A lot of people will be thinking that way.
But family there's a nuclear one as well.
Yes, exactly.
But let's say it's not even a family meeting.
Yes.
That is, from family meeting, we've been assembled, you know. But even in our regular engagements, do you see a trend with how parents and their children?
Yeah.
Do you see a trend in there, the relationship?
Oh, yes.
And what is the effect of the social media overuse on behalf? I mean, in a on the side of the parents and also on the side of children, because these days I also see that they hand over phones to their children to be on social media and be swiping. What does that also? What's the effect of that?
So apparently, I mean, like you said, they give their phones to children, and then children are using. They become used to whatever thing that happens on social media than their parents. Husbands and wives, for example, cannot have a prolonged conversation because they feel that there is something more entertaining on their phones, or there is something more exciting on their phones. So people, for example, within the nuclear family setting, are not able to have the full attention of each other. For example, they might even misunderstand what someone is saying simply because they didn't really pay attention to what the person was saying.
Yeah.
For example, I mean, quote unquote, maybe an insult, a joke, an insult in a joke, like, oh, you are stupid. So maybe if someone is watching me on Facebook, oh, you're stupid, and the person wasn't necessarily paying attention to how the person said it and how he expressed it. I expressed, oh, you're stupid, with a smile, but the person was not really paying attention while I was saying that. And because the person had a divided attention, might take offense to it.
Right.
But then the natural self or the natural me didn't really mean the insult, like, you are stupid. Do you get it?
Yeah.
So there are a lot of real conversations or misunderstandings that actually emanate as a result of the overuse of social media or these things that are actually online.
Yeah.
So they max a lot of real things that are actually supposed to occur. And in fact, sometimes it prevents people from really being there.
Okay.
We are not able to empathize with people because we are so glued to maybe our devices, and we are not able to tell how people feel because they've just said it in a text. How are you doing? I am fine. If it was in person and you know who, I mean, the person is for some number of time, and the person says, I am fine, you can tell definitely that the person is not fine. But if it was just on phone, the person would have said, I am fine. And that would have said, okay, fine, you are fine. Oh, we thank God.
Yeah.
But then in person, the person might not necessarily be fine. I mean, people listening to us will tell us the number of times when people have said, how are you doing on WhatsApp? Or maybe an SMS. And we had to tell them that we are fine. But in reality,
we are not fine.
We were not really fine. And the reason was because there was a bridge. We were digitally connected but emotionally distant. Do you get it?
That's a problem.
Yeah.
Now, the issue about the children, I am very particularly concerned about that because, you know, growing up, you would spend time with your mother, sit together, have a chat, you know, there's a relationship, some laughs here and there. But like I'm saying, these days, I see that a lot of the parents are so busy and they hand over their phones to the younger ones. I've been in transit where a mother and the baby, throughout the journey, the mother is on the phone, the baby is crying, the baby is something, and she's just shaking the baby to stop crying, but she's glued on TikTok. There's been times where the baby starts crying and we hand over the phone to them to use. I'm wondering what that would do to the emotional connection between a mother and the child. I don't know if you're able to provide some insight into that, but if not.
I mean, on the normal scale, like we said, there is a shallow empathy. There is no deep empathy to give to, for example, the child. When the child is crying, the mother feels that, oh, it is in the nature of the child to cry. And so sometimes they are not able to tell why the child or the children are crying. So they feel that the easiest way to escape the crying is to give them the phone to distract them. But we have not dealt with the main thing as to why the child is crying. And when we bring it into our normal space, people deal with real life issues on social media. For example, depression.
Yeah.
I mean, depending on what led to the depression, and then maybe anxiety or stress. And they feel that the stress reliever or the depression reliever or the worry reliever is being on social media. But like we said earlier, after you are done doing whatever you want to do on social media, does the problem go? It's only within the space when you are scrolling and you are laughing at certain comedy skits or you are engaged in certain conversation and they are all laughing. But then the real life issues that led to whatever thing, you have not dealt with it.
Right.
And same with the parents. So what is happening is that they're actually training the children to deal, I mean, indirectly. I'm not saying directly that, oh, when you are crying or when you are sad, you should pick your phone. You'll be fine. But in the absence of the phone, will you really be fine?
That's a very good question.
Yeah.
All right. That's 38 minutes after 9. This is the Business Breakfast on Zed 101.9 FM with me, Nitrebi Hamon. If you just tuned in or you're listening to us, feel free to engage us on our social media platforms. We're on Facebook at ZFMGH and on YouTube at Zed Multimedia. Please visit the platform quickly. Drop a comment under the live stream. Let's know if you're listening to us. Let's know what your comments are and also your questions, and we'll address them for you as we go on. My guest is Dr. I always say doctor, but very soon I know you'll be a doctor. Justice Oklu is a mental health advocate, and he's with us in studio having this all-important conversation. Right. You can also send us a WhatsApp, 0544-321019, 0544-321019. We'll read your messages for you, and you can call us on that same number as well. Feel free to do that. We're happy to respond. Justice, let's continue. Now, you mentioned anxiety, some pockets. You also mentioned pockets of what I grasped at as comparison. You know, the 1K, 10K thing, and all of those things. Does social media really affect us in those areas?
Yeah, they do.
Beyond the comparison you mentioned, anxiety. What are the mental health issues that people will have to deal with as a result of social media overuse? Basically, that's a question.
All right.
Yeah.
So, so there is the emotional side. There is the behavioral side. Let me do this. There is the emotional side. There's the behavioral side. There is the how do you even call it? The cognitive side, which we call the thoughts.
Right.
Okay. So anytime you hear psychological, we are dealing with the thoughts and the emotions. Okay. So under the mental health, we will not just be interested in your thinking. We are also interested in your emotions as well as your behavior. Okay, so practically what you meant was, what are some of the signs that shows that the person is engaging on the social media overuse, or is addicted, or is having a problematic usage of this social media? I mean, under the behavioral, we will have what we call neglect of obligations. You begin to check responsibilities. When you are supposed to do certain things, you rather replace it with social media and then do it. Okay. Then you have using it in inappropriate context. When you are supposed to, for example, be sleeping, you are on your phone.
Okay.
When you are supposed to be eating, you are on your phone. So inappropriate context. So when the desire is to use your phone, when you are doing certain things, actually that requires that you pay attention. Okay. Then we have compulsive checking. So under that has to do with your control. You've just lost control over when to say no and when not to say, when to say yes. Okay. Then when it comes to the emotional side, there is restlessness. The person is without social media. It's like, I'm not fine. You know, there's irritability. Anything just moves the person. Okay. You spoke about the anxiety part. Under the anxiety part, we have what we call fear of missing out. If the person doesn't come on social media, it's like, oh, Charlie, I'm losing. I don't know what's trending.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, Charlie, on Twitter, what's really trending and all those anxiety. I am worried about what is happening there. But when you sit down and you ask yourself, if I don't go on X for a day, will I lose any money at all? You know, will it reduce the way I see myself? I mean, so then we also have guilt or shame. In fact, sometimes, I mean, the guilt or shame probably will have to do with like the longer periods you spend on social media when you are supposed to be engaged on something else. For example, someone is supposed to study for an exams and the person is actually on social media, and the person just realized that I've spent 3 hours on social media. Then the person begins to beat himself up and realize actually I have only 1 hour to study to the exams. So there is guilt and there is shame that is built there. And you see, these things that might seem to be, you know, little things build up into our personality, and at the end of the day, it affects other areas of our life. Emotional numbing. Things that we are actually supposed to be emotionally present towards, we might not be, because there is this overuse or there is this addiction that we have actually experienced. You see, so emotional numbing means that the person uses the social media to deal with the stress, to deal with the depression, when there are other ways to actually deal with the root cause of the depression.
Right.
Okay. Then there is also the cognitive side. How you think Okay, so when there is the overuse, there is the part where what you do, that's the behavioral. There's the part when, what you feel, that's what we call the emotional. Then now, how you think. So there is a way you think that actually might give us a clue that you are having an overuse of this social media, or there is social media addiction actually happening. All right. Frequent thoughts about posts and notifications. It says what others are doing online. I want to know what this person is doing online. I want to know what this person is doing online.
Yeah.
Preoccupation. Okay. Then we also have reduced attention span, like we spoke about earlier.
Yeah.
Okay. We are not able to, because the social media has been designed in a way that people are only interested in short videos, like reels.
Yeah.
If the video is long, they will not really engage it. If the post is long, they will not even read it. Because they are used to short videos and short texts. Okay. There is also, memory lapse. We begin to have concentration problems. When we get addicted to the social media, then we also have poor decision making. We begin to prioritize immediate digital rewards over long-term goals. For example, long-term goals is finishing your report. Immediate digital reward is that I will be laughing when I get on social media. That is what I want to do now. Okay. Then the last part is the relational science. How you connect with people. Phobing, we spoke about it. You begin to snub others without really knowing that you are snubbing others. In fact, some people intentionally do it just to ward off certain people. Okay. There is also reduced quality face-to-face interaction. Eye contact is so very important. And there is also these short conversations that happen. So because I'm actually on social media, instead of me to actually give a lengthy answer or an appropriate answer, I'll just give a short answer. Charlie, when you went there, what happened? Oh, nothing happened. But then, in your nothing happened, there was something that really happened when you went to, or whatever happens to you. Okay.
Right.
Then the physical signs, sleep deprivation. I don't know where we'll talk about the effects later on, or I should just continue.
Oh, no, don't worry. Just
so when there is sleep deprivation, we can also say that there is an overuse of this social media fatigue. You spoke about burnout.
Yeah.
Okay. So feeling tired during the day because social media, cuts into the rest hours. There are times actually that we are supposed to be resting. We are on our social media, forgetting that it's not just opening your eyes to look at videos, but there is an interaction that happens. Okay. So when it comes to sleep, for example, there are two chemical substances that are very important when it comes to sleep: dopamine and melatonin.
Right.
Melatonin is interested or is responsible for your sleeping, while dopamine is responsible for staying you awake.
Okay.
So the periods when you are actually supposed to be sleeping, I am actually exposed to light. Now this is it. Once there is darkness, it sends a signal to the hormone, which is melatonin, that it is time to sleep. And that is why we do not sleep with our eyes open. We sleep with our eyes closed. Then when the time for sleep is over, dopamine now comes in to keep you staying awake. So once we get addicted to social media, and especially during the night when we are supposed to sleep, we can be scrolling on our phones, maybe on Netflix, watching season or series movie, and say, I want to finish watching this series. I want to finish watching this series. Then at the end of the day, during the day, when dopamine is supposed to keep you awake, it is being inhabited by melatonin, which is supposed to induce your sleep.
Right.
So the person begins to feel sleepy, feel drowsy, and all those things. It's as a result of exposure to social media. Now, when we talk about social media, someone will say, "Oh, social media is only about WhatsApp and TikTok and Snapchat and all the." Your TV is also part. Sometimes games. All right. So these things actually play.
Let's talk about solutions, because I think our time is almost up. Let's talk about solutions. What can somebody do, or what are some practical things that somebody can actually do to stop or to break away, to gain control of their time?
As a psychologist, I am not, or we are not interested in saying don't use social media.
Okay.
That is not what we are saying. We are interested in the fact that as you spend time on social media, or the amount of time you spend on social media, does it interfere with your physical activities? Does it interfere with your productivity? Does it interfere with your relationship negatively? Okay. That's what we are much more interested in. So the first approach is what we call maybe psychoeducation in our field, but in the layman's language, we call it awareness, self-awareness. So first of all, the individual has to be aware that when I look at the things that are actually affecting me, or that is actually affecting my productivity or my efficiency in a particular task, is from social media, there are practical steps that the individual begins to take. So in awareness, the individual begins to admit that I am addicted to social media.
Okay.
I am addicted to something. If the individual doesn't come to that place of acceptance and awareness that I have a problem, trust me, there is no amount of solution we'll give to the individual that the individual can actually escape from. So identify your triggers under awareness. Identify what are your triggers. When you are bored, does it lead you directly into social media? When you feel lonely, do I quickly move into social media? And then link the behavior to consequences. Does it affect your sleep? Does it bring about conflict? You begin to misunderstand what people are saying, or you begin to misunderstand certain actions. All right. Then we also look out for what we call cognitive behavioral strategies. Under these strategies, it's actually a strategy you use in treating cases.
Okay.
Under these strategies, we are more interested in your thoughts. There is a way you think that informs certain behaviors. There is a way you think about a particular thing that actually informs it. So, for example, the person might say that, I don't feel okay. I have to check for updates. That's the thoughts. So the thought is now going to lead into the behavior. Then now you have to replace the thought with something better. Instead, the updates can wait. I'm the one in control.
Right.
So the thought will come, which will actually inform the behavior, which is the overuse.
You counter it.
However, exactly. So you counter the thought with something positive.
Right.
Hey, something bad is happening. Okay, I don't think nothing bad will happen if I don't hold my phone. Okay. Then you also have to, we use what we call build impulse control. Means that if you immediately take your phone, you delay it for like 15 to 20 minutes, or maybe 10 to 15 minutes, and say, okay, fine, I will not take my phone all of a sudden. I'll rather relax for some time and then go ahead and then take my phone. Digital detox. I think it was one of the conversations we had in our previous time. Digital detox is so very important. You sometimes need to take breaks off whatever devices you actually use and these social media spaces, just to bring you to that place where you can gain a certain balance over how you feel and what you think. Okay, so digital detox is not just about doing away with your electronic devices. Okay, it's about replacing the things you do with your electronic devices when you want to just go off the social media. So for example, because I've realized that I am having an overuse of the social media space, the times that I'm actually supposed to be using on the social media space, I'll replace it with reading
a book,
or maybe something. A physical conversation, or even maybe going to the gym.
Right.
Okay. So you must also have like free days and free periods. You must set boundaries for yourself and say, after 10, I am not going to get onto my phone.
Okay.
Or after this period of time, or when I wake up, 30 minutes after I wake up, I'm not going to check my phone. Either maybe I'm going to do a quiet time, or I'm just going to be silent with myself. Okay. Then, you must encourage balance rather than elimination. Rather than saying, I will not use social media again, take your time. It took a number of periods, or a number of days, or a number of
months and years,
exactly, to build your overuseness of the social media. So please take your time. There has to be an aspect of patience.
Thing.
Exactly.
So start balancing it with other things.
Then eventually self-regulation and then emotional coping skills. So you must have healthier coping mechanisms or strategies. For example, when I feel bored, what do? I need a physical conversation with somebody, you know. Then you can also journal. I mean, write what you're feeling, you know, rather than say, oh, one of the ways I can express my emotions is to go on social media and rant.
Right.
But definitely, it's not supposed to be so, okay? Then physical activity, exercise, could also take the place of, I mean, these addictions that we formed. Deep breathing, okay? Deep breathing exercises.
Yeah.
Taking a deep breath. There are different types of breathing. When you Google, you will see them. Can also help you. And then grounding techniques. I think I've spoken about it before.
Yeah.
Grounding techniques actually, and then mindfulness actually makes you focus on yourself and live in the present. Okay, so for example, the individual might say, okay, I'm on social media, I'm addicted, blah, 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 blah. Wherever you are, just relax. In your relaxation or in your rest, study your environment. 5 things that you can see. Out of the 5 things that you can see, what are the 4 things that you can hear? No, sorry, you can touch. Out of the 4 things that you can touch, what are the 3 things that you can hear? Out of the 3 things that you can hear, what are the 2 things that you can smell? Out of the 2 things that you can smell, what are the 1 thing that you can taste? By the time you get to the tasting parts, you realize that the desire or the compulsion that would have come for you to get onto the social media would have been lost. Right. Then the final part I will always encourage, okay, is that you must seek for professional help. Why are we saying you should seek for professional help? Loss of control despite the attempts to calm down. When you've realized that all these strategies that we have shown, I'm not able to help myself. You must look out for us to help you. Then also, I mean, when you realize that it's having a significant impact on your work, your relationship, or your mental health, you must also reach out. Then, I mean, other issues like anxiety and depression and stress that actually leads us into the face of this overusage. That's when you call for professional help. So please, look out for a psychologist, look out for a clinical psychologist or a counseling psychologist. We are always there to help you out of whatever addiction it is, especially social media addiction.
Justice, thank you very much for coming, and thanks so much for sharing with us this morning. We're really grateful.
You're welcome.
Yes, hopefully we get to speak again soon.
Certainly.
All right. Okay. Well, that was Justice Oklu. Justice Oklu is a mental health advocate, and he joined us this morning talking about social media usage. And we've said quite a number of things here today, and I'm sure you've taken a thing or two that you're going to apply to your life, and that will help you. So thank you very much. This conversation will be on our social media platforms, on Facebook at ZFMGH and on YouTube at Z Multimedia. You can go and play it back, take your time and make sense of it and apply some of the principles that we've shared this morning, and that will transform your life. But thank you also very much for listening to us this morning. We are back again tomorrow. Now, tomorrow is a holiday, but we are back tomorrow at 8 a.m. for some more, for a special holiday edition of the Business Breakfast on Zed. And we have a surprise for you, so make sure you tune in tomorrow and join the conversation. So really grateful. My name is Nitrebi Hammond. I'll see you tomorrow. Until then, please take care of yourself. And when you think Ghana, think Zed. Up next.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. And also do follow us on all our socials. On TikTok at Zed Multimedia, LinkedIn at Zed Multimedia, YouTube at Zed TV, IGX, and Facebook at ZFM GH.